I was like, we're gonna make lemonade out of some lemons. So that's exactly the mindset that I went into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Renee's The OT Chronicles. If you haven't already done those 3 big things for me, make sure you like this video, you subscribe, and then leave me a comment down below. I'm back, y'all. So let's get into today's video. Now I know the thumbnail of my last video said I'm back, but this time I swear I am back. I, didn't plan on being gone for so long. This really happened because what we're going to talk about today is my last placement, honey. Like, my last placement really took everything out of me and I was just drained. So yeah, today's video is going to be completely about my last placement, my last level 2 fieldwork, because I'm officially done my master's degree. Yay! So yeah, it has been an amazing journey and I'm so happy that I am sharing this with all of you. This is really how life is as an OT student, and I try not to sugarcoat anything. I try to be pretty straightforward with everything that I say here. So if you want to know everything about my last level 2 placement as an OT student, then stay tuned for this video. Alright, so the setting of my last level 2 placement was a hand therapy outpatient clinic. I was in this little room. Well, really I was going between like 2 or 3 rooms, but they were all super tiny. And, they had everything that a hand clinic would essentially have. They had a whole bunch of different things that we could use to kind of help all the different diagnoses that we were treating. So the type of population that I worked with were adults and older adults mostly. I did splint 1 kid, so I guess you can say pediatrics a little bit. So the main kind of population, or I guess diagnoses, that I kind of treated on a daily basis were wrist fractures, hand fractures. I also had a lot of decurvains, if you know what that is, as well as nerve compression. So the biggest one was carpal tunnel syndrome. I also had a couple weird ones where it was kind of like they were complicated. It may have just been like a distal radius fracture or a carpal tunnel release. However, they did have some complications, so it kind of turned a little bit into CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. So that was pretty interesting as well. Those are like really the main diagnoses that I kind of saw. The biggest one being carpal tunnel, and then also I completely forgot osteoarthritis. So CMC osteoarthritis, I did tons of those as well. So that's what I kind of dealt with on a daily basis. Now, a hand therapy clinic is completely different than being in a school district, for one. Now, if you were to tell me that I was going to be in a hand therapy clinic, I would have told you absolutely not. But I did not have pretty much a lot of leeway because I wanted to finish my degree. So I said yes to the placement and I took it. One thing that I will say is, if you have the option to not take a placement that you don't want to be in, I would say don't do it. And it's not saying that I didn't enjoy my time at this placement. It's just I feel like I would have enjoyed more of my time if I was somewhere that I really wanted to be. However, due to COVID, I really didn't have an option, and I was like, we're gonna make lemonade out of some lemons. So that's exactly the mindset that I went into it. I made some great connections with tons of people, and I really got to see myself grow as an individual, which is the biggest thing, because when I tell you, my first week I was completely scared because I have not done hand therapy in a year and a half. So I was not fully, in that mindset yet. However, looking back on it and just seeing all the growth that I have kind of done throughout my 12 weeks, I am just in awe. My documentation was the biggest one, and we will completely get into that. So yeah, that is my little tidbit about this placement. Now, I did get the opportunity to do a day in the life of a level 2 OT student, so I will link that below. It is on my Instagram. I did share it on my Instagram. I will share it again in the description box if you want to take a look at that, but that was for Wayne State University. And that really showed you the clinic that I was in, and it also showed you kind of the different tools and interventions that we kind of had in our OT closet. So now what I'm going to get into is the kind of interventions that I provided to the patients that I was seeing. So mostly I did a lot of biomechanical frame of reference kind of things because I was working on getting the range of motion back, following that protocol, then working on their strengthening and following that protocol. Also, I was creating tons of splints. I'll insert some pictures all over the place for all the splints that I have made. I literally have made so many splints. And I will tell you that splinting is something that you literally, as my supervisor would say, touch a piece of plastic every single day. If you don't, you lose the skill. The biggest thing for me is that I wanted to make sure that I was touching a piece of plastic every single day, whether I was making a mallet splint, or I was making a thumb spica splint, or I was just making just a finger gutter. But I was just touching a material. Even if I didn't have a patient that day who necessarily needed a splint, I was splinting myself and I was splinting my supervisors, because the biggest thing is that is really a skill that literally, if you don't use it, you lose it. So that is one of the biggest things I will tell you about a hand therapy clinic. Some of the other interventions that I provided were, if I'm working on range of motion, I loved using a ball, like a regular, blow up ball. You can do so much with that. So I did a lot of placing your hand on top, placing your injured hand first, and then your non-injured hand on top, and rolling back and forth, working on that range of motion. And that's doing it in a way to where it's not giving you that strengthening component, and it's really working on those muscles stretching. Because the biggest thing with range of motion that I have seen in my placement is that when people first come out of a splint, they're very tight and they're very scared to move whatever is injured. So by putting them on an object like that, it kind of takes their mind off of it. Another thing is I also tell my patients when I'm stretching them, when they're doing exercises, close your eyes and just relax, take a deep breath in and out. Because honestly, a lot of the patients that I saw were in pain. And when I tell you, pain is something that you have to get used to, and it's hard for me because I don't want to put anybody in pain, but I was putting my patients through the pain of soreness. Not necessarily ouch, this hurts, but I'm stretching those different kind of muscles that need to get stretched so that they can use their hand again. And it was just amazing and interesting to see how the body heals when you actually work and you actually do all these cool interventions with them. Being an OT, it's really about being occupation based, making activities for the patient that they really find meaningful to them. Like for instance, I worked with a chef. He really he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to go back to work because of how he injured himself. Now, what I do is I simulated a couple of his chef activities. So I took a spatula that we had, I took some lids that we had, and I just had him flipping it like it was a burger. I did some wrist range of motion. I did a lot of strengthening when he was approved to start that kind of motion and that kind of resistive activity. And at the very end, he was so thankful, and he was just I don't know, it was one of those cases that will stick with me for the rest of my life, because he really walked in there thinking that he was not going to be able to do what he loved to do. And through going with me through therapy and occupational therapy and all the different things of listening to him and coming up with a treatment plan that was really tailored to him, I was able to get him back to performing something that he really enjoyed. So I don't know, I have tons of those stories. So if you want a video on a couple more of that, or just comments or anything, leave them down below. I love chatting about it. Of course, we're gonna follow HIPAA and stuff like that, but I don't know, those are just impactful things that I saw, especially being a student. It's very inspiring, and it kind of solidifies why you do the things that you want to do as an OT. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell you some of the most challenging things that I had to deal with in this placement. And I'm being transparent because I really feel that fieldwork students need to advocate for themselves in their placement if they feel that their placement is kind of a toxic environment, or it's just not providing them what they need. And I'm not saying that my environment was toxic, but I will say that was it an environment like my other placements? No. There definitely was a lot of drama at my placement, and that's something that, you know, I'm not gonna really dive deep into, but I will say that it was very challenging for me mentally, and it was very challenging for me physically too. Like physically, it took a toll on my body waking up every morning and having to go to this placement because some days I just really didn't want to. And you know, that's what happens when you're a fieldwork student and like you're on your last leg and you're tired and you just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I experienced that in this placement. This was the first placement that I felt that really challenged me mentally, physically, emotionally. The amount of documentation,
Lord, the amount of documentation that I had to do
challenged me mentally, emotionally, and physically. Like I was coming home from this placement tired. I was also working another job as well while I was at this placement. So I would leave my house at 8 a.m. and not come home until 8 or 9 o'clock. And it was hard, it was draining, and that's why I just couldn't sit here on camera and be myself, because myself was not happy. Like, to be honest, like I wasn't happy and I struggled. And you know, when it got to the end, I really was just proud of myself. I was proud that I finished this. Like I did the damn thing, honey. Like there were days that I really didn't think I could go on at this placement. There were days when I was just so frustrated with just a whole bunch of different variables that were happening that I was like, bro, this is it. Like I'm ready to quit. Like I'm done. I'm tired. Like I don't want to do this again. And you know, every fieldwork student experiences this at one point. You know, when you talk to fieldwork level 2 students and they come and they tell you how hard level 2 is, you really kind of like put it as a chip on your shoulder. You're like, whatever, like you kind of push it off and you're like, oh, it won't be that hard for me. And I was one of those. Every time someone came and talked to me about fieldwork, I was like, oh, fieldwork's fine. And that's how it was for 4 of my 5 placements. But definitely this last one challenged me tremendously. But I definitely think, and I'm so grateful for this placement, for my supervisors, because they essentially made me a great OT, and you know, they prepared me for a lot that I'm going to experience as an OT. And I'm just super, super grateful and thankful for this placement. You know, you have to kind of choose the positivity in a lot of your situations. And I made sure that I tried my best to choose the positive situations out of everything, and especially everything that I was happening at that placement. So yeah, I really did enjoy my time there. I enjoyed the people and the relationships that I met, the amount of patients that I helped. Oh my goodness, like they were the sweetest people. But I will tell you, honey, yes, it was challenging and I was crawling on the floor getting through it. But I'm here, I finished, and yeah, now I'm studying for the NPCOT. But yeah, if you want to see some videos on how I'm studying, what I'm doing to prepare, let me know in the comments below. You know, I'm trying to be as transparent as I can about this because, you know, I want people to see these videos and really gain something from this. And I want you all to excel in all of your OT journeys, because you have really just made this whole OT journey for me an amazing journey. And I'm just so thankful for all the different connections, even you guys just reaching out to me and checking in, sending me emails, stuff like that. I'm just so thankful for all of you. So yeah, that is going to be the end of today's video. If you have any questions about anything, leave that in the comment section below. If you want to reach out to me, say hey, leave that in the comment section below, or DM me on one of my Instagrams. I will be staying consistent now. A video every week, you know, we gonna put it into the universe. So come back next week and we'll have a new video on a new topic. And yeah, I'm excited for this journey with everybody. So yeah, that's the end of today's video, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.
Another banger. Make a phone, make a phone, 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 make a call, make a keep at the phone.